Charlotte, it's great to see you fit and healthy. We're talking a few weeks out from the Valencia Marathon and some decent half marathon performances from you over the last few months. And after a frustrating few years, how has training been going?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I feel like 2024 was a nightmare year for me. So I finally have got some momentum again now. Just building back. I think every race that I've done so far in the last few months has just been a little bit better, really. Um, so I haven't really put out any really amazing performances, but at the same time, when I'm marathon training, I feel like I don't race particularly well. 8 weeks before I ran 2:22, for example, I ran 33:05 for a 10K, which is nothing spectacular. But so yeah, I take confidence from those races, knowing that they're part of a bigger plan, and just trusting what I've done before. But at least I'm healthy and yeah, going well again.
And at your sort of stage in your career, you're really established now in marathon running. If you have, when you look at those half marathons, do you know what's good for you in a build? And you can sort of be at peace with that, rather than a younger athlete that might be kind of frustrated that they're not PBing in a half marathon, in the build up to a marathon.
Yeah, I've always found personally that I don't race well in a marathon block. When I got my PB for the half marathon, I was training really specifically for the half marathon and doing a lot of 10K kind of faster track sessions and stuff like that. But recently, when I've been doing these halves, I've been doing more marathon specific work with the end goal being Valencia. So I just kind of have to bear that in mind and yeah, kind of know that that's part of the bigger plan. And obviously I've done it before, so I know that yeah, it hopefully will all end well in Valencia.
Mm. We'll talk about how maybe that sort of helped towards your training for Valencia a little bit later, if that's okay. But
Yeah.
it's 2 years, isn't it, since you last able to complete a marathon? I guess you must just be itching to get on that start line now in Valencia, right?
Yeah, I mean, after Berlin in 2023, obviously wanted to do London 2024, but they British Athletics didn't want me to run there because of the Olympics. So I was actually raring to go for that London Marathon, paced there instead. Obviously didn't get to race, and then obviously didn't get to race the Olympics either, and then had a string of injuries. So it does feel like a long time coming, but the whole time I've pretty much been training, either cross training or running. I just haven't been able to string together like a block of consistency, which is really what you need for the marathon. I think at this point in my career, I don't want to go into a race and just to run a marathon, because I've done that before, and I only really want to race a marathon if it's going to be decent. So yeah, that's kind of the reason why I haven't raced one yet.
Well, just on that then, I mean, you were one of the first athletes to be selected for Team GB for the Paris Olympic Games. And that was in February, wasn't it? So quite a long time in advance. See, that obviously, as you said, came with those limitations regarding what you could run at that moment, and you couldn't do London other than pacing. Was that frustrating? And is it something that kind of guidance, and I don't know if it's guidance or you were being told, but would you kind of, with all the knowledge you've got, with all your racing career, all your coaching that you do as well, would you push back on that now, saying that I know my body and I actually need the race?
Yeah, 100%. My coach was very adamant that I run London Marathon, and he even said to me after British Athletics told me that I would be maybe deselected if I ran there. He told me to run anyway, and I kind of wish I did listen to him. Obviously, it's hard though, because the struggle that I had to get to the Olympics, it was like a long time coming, and I felt like I just couldn't do anything that might jeopardize that. But looking back, I think if I had run London Marathon, I would have taken time off afterwards, and then I would have built up for Paris and maybe not have got the injury that I ended up getting, because I would have been a little bit fresher. Whereas I ran really hard in January and February, got a half marathon PB, got selected for the Olympics, didn't take any time off, carried on training in Australia, paced London Marathon, flew to Paris, ran the marathon course, flew back home, went to Font-Romeu, carried on training, and I was literally like all guns blazing for the Olympics, and then picked up an injury. And it was like, no wonder I picked up an injury, because I was just going flat out from Berlin 2023. Whereas I think when I actually race marathons, I respect the recovery. I take time off and it kind of resets, and then I go again. So I think the long time without the break really, for me, yeah, that was not ideal.
It's funny because I was commentating on that race in 2024 when you were pacing, and there was, I tell me if I'm wrong, but I felt like you went on a lot longer than most paces would do. What mile did you drop out then? Because I was kind of like, because I remember saying, I was commentating with Joe Pavey, and I remember Joe was like, she might as well just finish it.
Yeah. Well, me and Callie were pacing together, and we were both told to pace the British runners. And obviously, the pace was like not really hot, so we were both super fit. So we kind of said to each other, "We'll go to 30K." So I was under strict instructions from my coach, don't go longer than 30K. So I went to 31, I think, because that was just
it's in your personality.
Yeah, exactly. Because I got to do an extra little bit. That was just where the bus was. I think 30K, you had to like walk a little bit, and I was like, I'll just go to where the bus was. But Callie actually carried on to 35K, because she dropped back to help Alice Wright, and she was a little bit behind. So yeah, and then the next day, me and Callie actually flew to Paris to run the marathon course. So it was really go. But yeah, it was fun to pace, but I think looking back, I didn't love pacing London just because I know I want to race there all the time. Obviously, it was great to help others, and I'm glad I've done it once. But yeah, I don't know, it's not for me.
No, and when I look at the professional marathon runners, there's these two kind of parallel worlds, aren't there? There's the World Marathon Majors and races like Valencia, which are also, right up there in that caliber. And there's championship racing. And it's really hard to juggle the two. And, I personally, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it was particularly cruel for me to watch you not, and obviously much cooler for you, but to watch you not be able to make that start line in Paris, like with what you went through in Tokyo. And with that selection journey to Tokyo, it just kind of felt frustrating. And I'm almost, to me, it's nice the way you have punched through with that 2:22 and with some other performances. But how hard is it to marry up those two aspirations, sort of the championship and the marathon majors?
Yeah, it definitely is hard because obviously you can only race really 2 marathons a year. And then, yeah, with all the training around it, you kind of have to really pick which ones you want to do. I've always been one that does enjoy doing the marathon majors. I don't know, I just really want to do them all. And I just love the crowd and running with like all the other people that get to do it, the general population behind you. It's just like a massive buzz. Obviously I do get a buzz from running like world champs marathons, and I have done that before, but yeah, I love the marathon majors. That's just like something else really about them.
It's the mass participation element as well, isn't it? It's the fact that it's just a bigger event in terms of the feel and the atmosphere. It's always going to be bigger, isn't it, at the marathon majors? I don't want to, again, like Hannah was saying, don't want to put words in your mouth, and I don't want to get you into trouble. But I mean, if the same thing happen again in the future, do you kind of now have this sort of, you can kind of look back and say to selectors or the British Athletics in that situation, look, this is what happened. This is what I know. You're gonna have to trust me. Is that something that works? I mean, this is a very naive question for myself, probably.
I think that scenario was very unique in the fact that it was who was governing the endurance team at the time. I think if it was different people in charge, they might have a different perspective. But yeah, now looking back, I think I'd just be a bit more forceful about what I want to do. Like I said before, if it hadn't been my first Olympics, I would have 100% just done the London Marathon anyway and risked the getting selected later. Obviously, there was no if I could have still got selected, it would have just been at a later date. And for me, that was just too much of a risk based off what happened in Tokyo. I was not willing to take any risks. So it was more what had happened to me in Tokyo that enforced that decision, that I wanted to, ensure that I was selected in February. But yeah, if it happened again, 100%, I would be a bit more, forceful.
We'll come back to the last few years in a bit. Let's go back a little bit further. So back into the sort of start of your running journey, really, and just the marathon generally. What is it about this distance that gives you greater joy than maybe other events, if that is what it is? I mean, some people love this the most. Some people are best at it. Sometimes they don't always correlate.
Yeah, I honestly think the marathon did choose me. As in, like, when I was 15, I said to my first coach, Mick, I turned up at the track and I said, I'm an 800-meter runner. And he looked at me and laughed and was like, you're not. And I was like, I'm an 800-meter runner. And he was like, no, you'll never be. And he kind of enforced that in me right from the word go. Honestly, I would love to be an 800-meter runner. It looks so fun, and so glamorous and nice, and this training just looks, yeah. Anyway, so the marathon definitely chose me because I just found that even as a junior, like the cross country, because it was longer, it was 6K. I was always just better. And then as soon as it went to 10K, I would do a 10K and I was just better at the 10K. And I just found the training I was more suited to and everything really. So as soon as I was able to run marathons, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm going to give this a go. And then I again found that I was quite naturally suited to the training. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I do enjoy it. Obviously, I did want to be an 800-meter runner, but I wouldn't still be doing it now at the age of 34 if I didn't enjoy it. So, yeah, I do love the training.
I literally love the idea of Mick Woods. Just you just, yeah, he's a forceful character. But you having watched you train, places in Kenya, in Fontenoy at altitude, like I would say that like work ethic always screamed marathon runner to me. He'd set you off and there was nothing you could do to stop you. Like that, that was it. There was nothing was going to stop you on that long run, on that session. So it's interesting, for you to perhaps kind of say it maybe it wasn't always kind of where you saw yourself ending up, because I think that success you had over cross country as well as a junior, did sort of make me think you were always going to go to cross country, always going to go to the marathon and the roads.
Yeah, I think it was the cross country really that cemented the fact that I was better at the longer distances, because obviously on the track as a junior you can only really run 3K, and yeah, with the cross country being 6K and a little bit harder than a normal flat 6K, it was kind of like I just found that to be kind of my event. And then yeah, like I said, as soon as 10K started to open up and half marathons, I was just itching to get out there really for those longer events.
No, was that so? You did move up through the distances relatively quickly. Maybe not on a global scale, but I think for a Brit, back a decade ago to debut at 25 was quite young. Was that just sort of like you're just so eager to succeed? If you could see that's where your sort of punch through to the global stage was, you didn't want to, you kind of not impatient, but almost just kind of that's my calling. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, I think when I switched coaches to Nick Purdue in 2014, he was looking at the 2016 Olympics and he said the only way that you're going to make the team is if you move to the marathon, because he kind of thought that I wouldn't make the team for the 10K just because the qualifying time was a little bit faster, and he just thought that I would be more suited to the marathon. So he kind of put the idea to me that I run one in 2016 at the trials. And I was like, yeah, why not? I'm all in. So that's why I kind of moved up then, was to try and make that Olympic team. I did still like the 10K and I liked the idea of it, but Nick just said to me, even if you do make the team, you're going to get 24 laps in, and if it's a kick down, you're never going to be able to kick down and run like a sub 60-second 400 and get a medal at the 10K, whereas obviously the marathon's a little bit more open, weather conditions, championship racing, anything can happen. So I think he just saw that the marathon was more of a chance for me to do well.
Hannah made the point about the fact that for a Brit, sort of starting in your mid-20s and the marathons is quite rare. And in general now it's the well-trodden path is you do have a track career, right? And then in your 30s, maybe early 30s, late 20s, you'll sort of start transitioning to the roads. And we're starting to see a little bit more now, especially the East Africans coming in at like 2021. But what would you say if there were, because we still don't really see it, young Brits really come through and start the marathons early. Would you sort of encourage more to take that sort of plunge if they show the talent for it? It feels like it's not really part of our culture.
Yeah, I think it depends really where people's backgrounds have come from. Obviously, I was probably running 100 miles a week at the age of 15, so it's like I was already had a good background, so I wasn't going from 50 miles a week to running a marathon. I already had such a good base; it was almost like a no-brainer for me to move up. Whereas I think just with British athletes, sometimes have like a more steady development, up the volume, which is obviously really sensible and fine to do as well. But I think it depends like where your background is and like what you're more suited to, and also if you want to run the marathon. I mean, once you move up, you can move back down, but you do lose a lot of your speed, so it is hard.
Yeah, and my kind of image of you growing up in the UK, just a prolific racer. You know, any race there was, you'd be there in your older shot vest. And I'm wondering, you know, that shift towards marathon and having to be more targeted with the competing. Do you miss cross country? Do you miss the road relays? Do you miss the track racing and that sort of environment?
I'd say when I first moved up to the marathon, I did miss that. But now, because the blocks that I do for the marathon are so specific, the sessions and stuff, and like I said before, the half marathons that I've done recently, it's so hard to like back off and be able to race well and then go again for a marathon, just because I find once I get going with the consistent training, it's really, I'm like head down, takes me like a little bit to get going, and then yeah, I hopefully run well in the marathon. But the races on the way don't always go so well. So I think if I was racing every weekend, I just wouldn't be able to train at like the way that I do. And I think that then maybe the marathon wouldn't go as well. And obviously the end goal is always to run the good marathon, not to run a good half marathon, not to run a good 10K. So I think it just depends on the kind of athlete that you are. But I've definitely found as I've got older that I've only been able to really focus on a couple of good races a year, and the other ones kind of fit in around that big end goal, if that makes sense.
No, so was that trial and error? Like, did you get it wrong by doing a few more races, or was it always quite a strong directive from Nick Bordeaux, or, you know, to kind of say, no, this is the way, you've got to buy in?
Yeah, I think Nick's way and the way that Nick trains us as well is all towards the end goal race. Whereas the training that I did before was a little bit more intense, so I could race well like every single weekend. But obviously I wasn't marathon training and doing the high volumes that I am now. So I think with this training, it's more gradual, building up to a peak, and then you peak for the race, and then you build up to the next one after that. But it's definitely a different way of training than I used to do when I was younger. So I think that's why I don't race as much now.
Because you've had those sort of blocks where you go away to Australia for a while, didn't you? Are those here to stay in terms of the winter training? Because I wonder, you know, when you're there, I think you went to Japan and ran the Nagoya half, didn't you, when you had the really good race when you came back from injury? Is it difficult to find races out there, just generally?
Yeah. So this year I went over there and I actually had only just started back running because I had like my third injury back to back. So Nick had said to me I could only go to Australia once I was up to like 45 minutes of running. So I actually flew there on like the 26th of January, and I was only up to 45 minutes of running after pretty much being injured since the Olympics in August. So I hadn't had any base at all. And once I was over there, I was just looking for any race that I could do really that was over 10K, because they're obviously in their track season when I go over. So it is harder to find like half marathons and stuff. But with Japan being, I say not too far away, it's still 10 hours on the plane, but it's probably one of the closer countries. So with Japan being like quite close, I'd paced Nagoya Marathon before, so I knew there was a half, and I just wanted to do any race that I could really. So I flew over and did that. But it depends really every year that I go over what races I do. Just depends on where I'm at. And this year was definitely different because, like I said, I'd only just started back running after such a long time off. Yeah.
No, and those trips over there, and what is it? Is it the winter sun? Is it the training group there? Is it time with Nick? Your eyes on with a coach? What is it that draws you over there for so many months? I mean, it's a long old way to go.
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. When I go over there, I obviously focus on getting a good block of training that sets me up for the year. I like to race in Japan a couple of times when I'm there. But in general, it's just the group, the weather, having people to run with. Because when I'm in the UK, I do a lot of training alone because I don't have a group here. So unless the Australian athletes are over in the UK, which they do come over usually in May and stay till August. But the other months I'm pretty much training alone or with Adam a couple of times a week. But it's just nice to have people every day to run with, good weather when the UK is not so nice. And obviously to have Nick, my coach, there as well helps because he can see me training and stuff like that.
And with Valencia being quite a late marathon for the year, probably the last big one of the year, I think it's fair to say. Does that change those plans in terms of this winter with the recovery and everything else?
Yeah, a couple of times I've actually gone to Australia before Christmas and done a race before Christmas and then just stayed over there. But I actually don't have any plans at all after Valencia yet. I always don't like to make too many plans until I've done like the key race. But yeah, it depends what marathon I choose to do next year. And then I'll probably just work back from that. Obviously, I do love to go to Australia, so I would still love to go over there. But it just depends what races I end up doing, whether I race in Europe because if you're racing a marathon in Europe, then it's hard to go, all the way to Australia and then come back for it with the time difference and stuff like that. So yeah, like I've got no plans yet after Valencia. So I just see what happens.
Is there a chance for like an actual chilled Christmas?
There is actually, yeah. Oh my gosh,
because
I've never had that.
No, we spoke to Ailish, back in the middle of the summer, and she was saying this was the first summer she'd ever had, sort of without. I can't remember what time it was we spoke, time of year, but it was a period where she's like, I've never
May or
had.
June, yeah.
I've never had a time like this where it's been chilled and I can just relax. And I was just thinking in my head there, I'm thinking, how many Christmases, does an athlete spend trying to see family, trying to keep the mileage up, trying to get to the gym, trying to get on a training camp? Yeah, you could actually
try not to eat too much.
yeah, you could chill at Christmas.
I know, maybe the first time in like 15 years.
Yeah. And the rest, more than 15 years. Yeah,
I know. Oh my gosh. Last year was obviously, I'd say it was chilled, but I was injured, so it wasn't enjoyable because I was still cross training. But yeah, maybe this year will be the first time I'm actually running with, not having to hammer it every single day.
Yeah. Your family won't know what to do with you.
I know.
All this energy. I know.
It's probably a good place to take a segue actually, because we founded Purdue Performance, your coaching business, and around Christmas, that's the time people start thinking, I need to get fitter, I need to get faster, I need to enter a race. Is coaching something that you always thought you would move into?
Not exactly. I'd say when I was at university, I did a personal training course and I did work part-time as a personal trainer. So it wasn't coaching, but it was kind of helping people get fit. And I did really enjoy that. And then I also did a Pilates qualification and I used to work as a Pilates instructor as well when I was at university. And I also really enjoyed doing that. So when me and Adam decided to found Purdue Performance, it was kind of just the next step really. And yeah, I do actually really enjoy it. Obviously, we founded it in 2018 and been coaching ever since then. So it's just something to take my mind off being a professional athlete, because it's sometimes you just get in your own head if you're just every day focusing on your own training. It's nice to actually switch off and focus on other people's training, and it just kind of puts things into perspective. Like when I wake up in the morning and some of my athletes have run at 5 a.m. and done 2.5 hours and then they go to work all day and I'm just like, wow, that's inspiring. So yeah, I really enjoy it. And yeah, Adam and myself have also just founded You Run, which is another coaching business that we have, but it's all app based. So with Mo Farah as well, he is also a co-founder. So we've got some good coaches on there. But yeah, I really enjoy You Run and Purdue Performance, to be honest. Like I said, it just kind of takes my mind off, being a professional athlete. It feels like I have something else to do rather than when I'm injured, just focusing on myself. So I think it has helped a lot, especially last year.
And I think we have this sort of culture or theme of professional athletes kind of saying you've got to be all in, you've got to be doing this, doing that. And I think I certainly felt that sort of mid-20s in the UK. If you're entertaining anything else, you're not taking your athletics seriously. So I love looking at athletes like yourself, and there's plenty out there that are doing something with that brain power outside of you can only be on your feet so many hours a day. We're not triathletes, we're not heptathletes, there is a capacity to invest in yourself with that time and kind of look at things from a different perspective. I mean, is part of it sort of future planning as well? You want career, you want stability outside of the running.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is good to have something else because, like I said before, last year I was injured pretty much the whole year. So I was just recovering from injury, but I didn't have really anything else. Obviously, I got the dog to look after. But apart from that, it's like if I didn't have Podium Performance and you run, I would like every day would just be like cross train, rest, cross train. And that's like a pretty boring existence. It's not enjoyable. So I am really glad that I do have that. And I know other athletes have part-time jobs and stuff like that. And I think it's completely fine to have like two things going on at the same time. It doesn't take anything away from your performance. I actually think if I was just a professional athlete, I would go crazy. So yeah.
I like how inclusive it is as well, Charlotte. And I also like that listening to what you're saying, it feels really genuine about sort of you getting inspired by the people that you're coaching. So you're looking at all abilities, all types of progression, as long as they put in the hard work in and you're seeing the results. It seems to be that is a sort of cyclical process that doesn't really get old, does it? Because everyone's got different stories, different lifestyles. So there's always going to be something fresh.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like every time I coach a new athlete, it's a different challenge. Everyone's got something else that they want to achieve, whether it's like a 4-hour marathon or they just want to run their first 5K. It's like everything's completely different. So I do like it because every week is a new challenge really, which is something else.
Mm-hmm. Right, let's go back to you on the roads. So 2023, we've established already, really big year for you. You went second all time on the UK list with that run in Berlin, which remains your PB as well. In terms of how you think then, because I know you've talked about already that you don't have any plans going forward from Valencia. What goes through your head immediately when you achieve a time like that? Are you someone who can go, that was a fantastic achievement, I'm going to soak it all up, take it all in? Or immediately are you sort of thinking a bit of that and a bit of, right, what's next?
I think with that performance, it was kind of like I was just trying to qualify for the Olympics. So I didn't really appreciate at the time, like running like a PB. It was like over a minute PB, but it was more just relief to run the Olympic time and be well under it and think to myself that I was probably going to make the team. It was just such a relief, to be honest. Before that race, my coach had told me to just try and run 2:24 because he said that will be like a safe time to run. You'll probably qualify for the Olympics. You won't put yourself in a hole, and then we can do London and try and run faster. But as the weeks of training like came along, I was basically just doing these sessions and I was thinking to myself, I can run like way faster than 2:24. There's no point going to a marathon and just trying to run something slower than I think I can run. So I said to Adam, who actually paced me in that race, I said, let's try and go for a 2:22. So I said to Nick about it, and he did want me to run a little bit slower, but I think at the end of the day, if you got an opportunity to run a race and you're fit, then you've just got to go for it. So I am glad I did go for it and run 2:22 because I would have been annoyed now if I only run 2:24. Because, if you sit there and say, oh, yeah, I think I could have run 2:22, but I only ran 2:24, everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, whatever. So I am glad that I did do that. But like I said, when I crossed the line, it was more just a relief that I thought, well, I've run 2:22 now. It's going to be hard for 3 people to run faster than that. I think I'm good for the Olympics. And that was my only thought. It wasn't the fact that I'd run 2:22, big PB, like ran well in Berlin. It was just like, oh, I've done it. Yeah.
Would you change that attitude, sorry, Hannah, going forward, in terms of soaking up achievements as you get older? I mean, it's something that I remember Andy Murray has said it over and over and over again about how he hated the sort of the pressure of when he won Wimbledon, for example, and he didn't enjoy it at all. And this next time, he really went to town on really celebrating those achievements. But it was sort of getting to like breaking a sort of barrier that might have been in his mind to actually be able to really appreciate what he was achieving. I just wonder, do you kind of sometimes need those moments to sort of appreciate what's coming, what you're going to achieve going forward?
Yeah, I think the sport just moves so fast that everyone's always asking you what's next. And
And
it's
it's
like,
gone, right?
yeah, I literally did Berlin. Everyone's like, oh, talking about London. And I was actually down to do Valencia that year. But because I ran 2:22, Nick was like, you're definitely not doing Valencia. So obviously didn't do that. But then everyone's talking about London, and then you're talking about Paris Olympics, and then it's just all for the Olympics. So it's like the sport does just move so fast, which I'd say is good and bad, because like last year when I was injured, it felt like all everyone was talking about was the Olympics. And then when it was actually over, it was kind of like, I wouldn't say forgotten about, because there were some really good performances that people still talk about today. But I don't even think about Paris Olympics anymore. It's like moved on the next thing. Even the world champs last month, like we're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about the next thing. And then it's New York Marathon coming up, and then people aren't talking about that. And then it's like Valencia, and then people aren't talking about that. So it does just move on and on and on. So I think that is good and bad, because like you said, you do need to celebrate your achievements, but also at the same time, if you have a bad one, it's good because you can just swiftly move on to the next one.
Yeah. No, it's such a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because without that that carrot of Olympic Games, would you have run 2:22? Would you have had the kind of the drive to get? You probably would, because you're very driven. I could never train for a marathon, but would you have that drive to get out every day and push yourself without that target? But yeah, then it flips to being a negative. But you're right, then you can move on. It's a weird old sport, and if we look at right now and then looking at something like Valencia, does it feel purer and simpler that it's just a race, and you've gone through kind of 2 Olympic cycles without being able to go and race an Olympic marathon? Does it feel purer kind of here at the back end of 2025 going, I'm just going to go run a standalone marathon?
Definitely. I think I'm at the point now in my career where I'm just like, want to enjoy every race, try and run as fast as I can in every race I do, try and race who's there. And like, I'm not going to put pressure on myself to make a specific team or do this or do that like I did before, because I think it just does take the enjoyment out of it when things do go wrong. And obviously I had the ultimate disappointment making the Olympics that I trained for 8 years to make, and then getting injured right before. So I think with Valencia, like you said, I just want to go there and put in a good performance, whatever that is on the day. I'm not going to put a time on it, not going to put a place on it. Like, I just want to run as fast as I can. So I think just moving forward in my career, that's going to be where I move now. And I'm not going to be focusing on specific events or making teams and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a good place to be, especially after what happened last year. I mean, just don't want you have to dwell on it too much. I know you probably thought about it far too much, but I mean, the timing of what happened before Paris, I mean, couldn't have been much worse. Just how tough was it mentally for you? Did you watch much of Paris? Were you kind of over it by then ish? Just sort of summarize how you worked through it, really.
Well, I only pulled out of the team with 8 days to go. So I had my Eurostar ticket, I had my kit, I had everything. So it was kind of like there wasn't enough time to process it, because I just obviously really wanted to make the start line. But with 8 days to the race, I couldn't even put my shoe on because my ankle was so fat and inflamed. And I was just like, I can't even walk to the Eurostar. So I can't get on the start line because I knew I wouldn't be able to finish. So as soon as I pulled out, it was kind of just like, I just need to switch off for a while and not think about running. I did still watch the race. I actually have a dog called Paris now, because me and Adam bought a puppy literally straight after that, because I just wanted something to take my mind off the Olympics, really. And
so you called it Paris.
Literally, well, exactly right. Adam said to me, because we were going to get a girl dog and we were talking about names, and Adam said, let's just call it Paris and just look at it straight in the face. And I was like, yeah, fine. And I'm completely fine with it now, because I do believe everything happens for a reason. Obviously, I was not meant to run in that Olympics. So yeah, I don't know. I just kind of switched off for a bit, obviously focused on getting my ankle better. Like I said, it ended up being a bit of a nightmare because I got 2 further injuries after coming back from that. I'd say that was actually harder than the Olympic injury, because I kind of put it to bed. I was like, this wasn't meant to be, I didn't make the Olympics, so I just want to get back running and do something else. And I was kind of focusing on doing another good performance wherever that may be. But then having 2 further injuries after that ankle injury was really hard, because it just felt like someone kept pushing me down after trying to get back up. And then it happened again in December. I was just like, am I meant to run anymore? Like my body just doesn't like running. And so yeah, that was really hard, I guess, the further injuries.
And the one in London this year. So
Yeah.
obviously didn't finish that race, did you? Was that was a calf issue? Is that right? Was that the issue? Was that something that you could have run through, or was it that serious injury
No,
itself?
so that was, so I mentioned I had 2 further injuries.
Yeah.
I think that was a continuation from the one that I had in December, because
Okay.
I had this injury in December. It was a stress reaction of my tibia. And I think it was just, I was rushing back for London Marathon. So like I said, I only started back running on, like the 20th of January or something like that. Got up to 45 minutes, flew to Australia, and I was just kind of rushing the build. And I'd gone from obviously not having run a good block of training since before August, to having 3 bad bone injuries in a row, and then trying to get back to run London Marathon. I think my body just wasn't ready to run a marathon, but I just wanted it so bad to stand on the start line of London Marathon. And I thought, I've run a half marathon, I can do this again. But I think just my body was just telling me like, no. So obviously I had to take more time off after London Marathon this year, which was annoying, but I knew that it wasn't a really bad injury. I just had to give it a bit more time. So I just had to be patient, which also was hard. But yeah, touch wood, haven't had any issues since there. So yeah.
And it's so tough because, there's this pressure, especially with all your promise, Charlotte, and all the performances you've put in and your sort of profile as being the one of the leading marathon runners that we have in the UK. And there's kind of this, the marathon's a difficult distance, isn't it? Because if you get it wrong, or if there's an injury, you have to wait ages till you do the next one. So you can't immediately put it right. You can't go and pick up another, like Hannah, you can't go and run like another race a week later and put it all to bed. But there's kind of this pressure as well of, we almost have this attitude sometimes where if someone has a niggle in any sport, they're kind of celebrated by pushing through it, being brave, and that's not, we look at it from our point of view, or if you do any running or you're professional and thinking that, well, that's actually a bit stupid actually. But as a runner, you're kind of in a weird headspace, aren't you? You really want to get this done, you put all that time in. I just wonder whether you have had those battles in the past, whether you, as you've got older, are able to sort of put that to bed and say, like, I'm not thinking like that anymore.
Yeah, I think I still struggle with it, to be honest, because like I said, I really wanted to make that London Marathon start line, just to like put everything to bed, what happened at the Olympics. So I was kind of just like putting everything to the back of my mind and thinking, I'm going to try and make this London Marathon, and I'm going to run well and everything's going to go great. But it doesn't always happen like that. So I think, yeah, even now it's still hard for me obviously I don't run through niggles, because that's just not advisable, but I still do like to have a goal and try and make that start line no matter what. So I do kind of go all in on the training, and I think we do put our bodies at risk by doing that, but that's just the way I like to approach it. And I think throughout my running career, I've always been an all or nothing kind of person. So if I'm going to run a marathon, I don't want to go there and run having not given it my all in the build up. So that's just the way I've always approached it.
Well, I love, I don't know if 18, 19-year-old Charlotte would have answered that question the same. It's like, it was nothing would stop you running. No. I remember being away with you and you'd be like, I remember once you saying, I've done 90 miles on a bad knee. Imagine what I would have done if my knee hadn't been bad. And I remember saying to you, but did you miss any runs for your bad knee? And you're like, well, no. So yeah, I think it's been an evolution. Yeah.
A slow evolution. And I'd say I still do have old Charlotte in there as well. I mean, there's like Coach Charlotte, and then there's old Charlotte just combined together.
Teenage Charlotte going, let me run.
Exactly. I think like I still do learn every day, and yeah, there's still certain things that I do where my coach is like trying to hold me back and tells me that I'm nuts and I shouldn't do that. And I think, yeah, it does make me who I am. And obviously you get the good times and you get the bad times. I think it is a roller coaster. My career has been a roller coaster, but like if I look back and think, would I change any of it? I'm like, oh, probably not, because it's been fun. And I've had such a long career so far. So now I'm just like embracing it, and just whatever happens, happens. So yeah.
So Valencia, you put yourself down a little bit with the 3 half marathons that you did and said they were okay. You fit the last one, second place in Manchester, with a 1:10 low, I think it was, wasn't it? So that was the last time that you raced. Valencia, flat and fast. What are your expectations going into it? How are you feeling? How's it all gone? Like if you sort of summarize it in terms of a whole block.
Yeah, so far I'd say every week I get fitter. And I'm actually like surprising myself a bit at how every week things are starting to click back into place again. I think it did take a long time to get back to this point. Obviously, like I said, I did have to take a bit of time off after London, and then just be a bit more careful on the build up back. So I think, yeah, that was. Sorry, my dog's.
That's fine.
That wasn't ideal, but I think, yeah, now being like at a good place with the training, and like I said before, the sessions are going better every week. It's all right. I'm gonna...
It's
Paris
good content.
getting involved, yeah.
Paris.
There is Paris.
You're gonna go. He's gonna.
Oh.
I'll answer the question again.
No, it's good stuff.
Sorry.
We got to meet Paris. It all works. It's all part of the narrative.
Okay, I'll go. She's gone. I'll go back to the question. Sorry about that. Yeah. I'd say, yeah, in general, the training, like every single week, I have surprised myself with how I'm starting to get fitter again. Like I said before, I didn't really know like what Valencia would be, if it would be like if I'd run a PB, or if I'd be able to run faster than 2:22. And I still don't want to say if that's going to be a possibility or not, because I don't know. But if I look back on the training I did before Berlin, some of the sessions that I've done recently have actually been like better than that. And some of the long runs that I've done, I just feel like I'm flowing again. And I think that I have actually found a bit of momentum and a good groove. So I think even after Manchester, I gained a bit of fitness from that race. And I feel like since then, the training's gone really well. So like never say never. But yeah, like I said as well, I'm just at the stage in my career where I just want to enjoy every race, go in there and kind of like give it all on the day. But I'm not going to go in there with a specific time in mind, because I'm not trying to make a team. I'm just trying to run as fast as I can. So whatever that is on the day, that will be. I'm just happy to be there, be healthy, and be running again.
Will Clarky run with you?
No. I don't think, he's not going to. He is actually doing all the training with me though, which is really great. So I've got a training partner for the whole block. So he's doing every single session with me, which has been so good, because like I said before, I do a lot of training alone. And previously before Berlin, he would come on the bike and stuff like that. But he's actually running every session with me. So that's been really good as well, just to have someone there to kind of push me every day. I found that to be really beneficial. So I hope that will pay off in Valencia.
Yeah, potentially more important. Yeah, everyday support than
yeah.
I know you've spoken about it's not about making teams at the moment, Charlotte, at this point in your career, but there's an inevitable question that you have to ask, because there is a home championships next year, and the qualification window's open obviously already as well. Is the European Championships, is it a goal for you? Is it something you'd love to be at, to race at a home champs? It's not something that athletes get to do very often.
Like I said before, I haven't actually made any plans after Valencia, but never say never again. My goal is just Valencia, and then make a plan for next year. Obviously, like you said, running in home games is always really special. I did London in 2017 at the World Champs, and that was amazing, and I absolutely loved running the marathon there. So if I look back on that was one of the highlights of my career so far. So I think, yeah, that could be really special. But I honestly have zero plans except enjoy Christmas.
Yeah.
I remember sitting on the embankment with Adam and some of the
yeah.
other guys. Watch you go past her. Like, she's really well. Adam then ran off and ran the last 6 miles or whatever to see what was going to happen. So maybe I can promise something similar in Birmingham if you did do the European Championship. I'll find a good bar and it can all be here. No, and we look at. I remember you coming fourth in Delhi in the Commonwealth Games in the 10K. At 19. And like that was an insane performance. Is it any part of you that would entertain sort of a dip back into track running?
I mean, I think a couple of years ago in 2022, I was going to run in Australia. They have their 10K champs in January, the Zadapet 10,000. And I was actually down to run the 10K, and I put spikes on for the first time since like 2012, and I was like all ready to go. And then about 3 days before I got COVID, and I know, honestly, I was like, what is going on? And I couldn't race. But I was actually down to run a 10K there. So I don't know now if I would or not, because I just feel like I am getting a little bit more injury prone in my old age. So I have to be more careful about what I do. And I think it's just the fact you have to wear spikes, to be honest, because I train on the track every week anyway. And like this Tuesday, I did a big track session. And so, it's not actually the track itself. It's more just the spikes. I think just my legs wouldn't appreciate that.
Just lastly from me, Charlotte, on Valencia, it's a really good field. It attracts some big names. We got the world champion there in your race now. Paris Chepchirchir is going to be there. Every year, this event gets bigger and bigger. It has that major marathon feel, doesn't it? What is it about this race that sort of gets the excitement up for you?
Yeah, I always said to my coach that I didn't want to go to Valencia until the latter part of my career because it's such a fast course. I said to him, like, I don't want to debut in Valencia or run there like too early, because if you go there and run really fast, it's hard to go somewhere else and try to run faster, because other courses are obviously a little bit more challenging, and sometimes you have women's only races and stuff like that. So the fact that it was a mixed race and it's at the end of the year and it's come at a good time for me, because like I said, London, I had to build back up after that. So there wasn't really a chance for me to run another marathon before Valencia this year. And so it's coming at a really good time. So I think that's a major reason why I want to run there this year.
Well, and Valencia has been a happy hunting ground for Nick Bedaux's stable. You look at Jen Lacaz running great there, Sinead Diver running brilliantly there a number of times. And when you're surrounded by athletes like that, and particularly someone like Sinead Diver, and you talk about trying to, you're not as old as she is, but trying to stay in the sport, how do you feel sort of emotionally and physically about how long you want to stay doing this? Would you stretch to target another Olympic Games, or like you say, you trying to keep it a bit more kind of race by race, event by event?
Yeah, no, 100%. I want to keep doing this for as long as I can. I think I'm still enjoying it. I did think last year when I kept getting those injuries, I was like, oh, am I still able to do this? But now I've put in a good block of training, and like I said, I'm getting the momentum back. So I just, want to stay injury free. Obviously, that's like the main thing for me now. But while I'm still enjoying it and hopefully still running well, then I'm going to keep running for as long as possible. I think Sinead is like a massive inspiration to me. She ran, the Australian record in Valencia a couple of years ago, and it's still the Australian record now. And she raced the other day in a 10K in Australia and ran 33 minutes, and she ran 70 minutes and a half at Melbourne Marathon. And she's like 10 years older than me. So I think, anything is possible. And I do look to her for inspiration for sure.
Well, it's great to see you injury free, Charlotte, and feeling optimistic about the race that you've got coming up, and that we're all behind you. And I hope you have a fantastic race in Valencia.
Thanks very much.